You know, on this channel, oftentimes I feel like it's my job to point out the obvious. I feel like it's my job to explain basic concepts that we've gotten a hold of years back to people who seem to be willfully ignorant of those topics. And one of the things that I feel like should not need an explanation is the fact that repeat offenders should be held as a way to incapacitate them. So get this, they stop repeat offending. But apparently this is a concept that is completely lost in the state of California. As we talked about in a previous video, we had the infamous snake burglar, this guy who's actually becoming a human snake, possibly the greatest supervillain to ever be told, could be stopped now, is released over and over and over again, even though he has 77 felony convictions for burglary and other related crimes. And the reason for that is that California actually passed a law, a state assembly bill, that forbids people who committed allegedly non-violent crimes from being held in state prisons, so they have to be sent to the county jail if they can be sent there. And the reason I say if they can be sent there is because these are often already overcrowded, these are often already underfunded institutions, and that leads to this revolving door, people being released over and over again, and of course, repeat offenders repeat offending. And a perfect example of this is this simple story out of California where an Asian restaurant is being targeted repeatedly by the same person who continuously chucks rocks through the window of this restaurant. Now, we're going to get into this. I'm going to explain this, but before we get into it, we got to say thank you to everybody who signed up over at actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And thank you to my podcast listeners on Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform.
And a wave of vandalism here. You said it, targeting mostly this restaurant, always by the same attacker. A woman said to be homeless, always using that rock, picking it up, throwing it. Mikey will give you a look. This one, she smashed out just last night around this time, smashed right through the rock, flying through some of her latest dirty work, and it all plays out right in front of the security cameras. Watch some of this, will you?
So as our local news reporter just set up for us, a woman who is supposedly homeless, probably Aladdin, probably just trying to feed her starving children, ends up coming to this business repeatedly for whatever reason and chucking rocks through the windows. And this has happened multiple different times to the point where they installed security cameras. They have high definition footage of this woman breaking through the windows, and guess what? It has led to no consequences, no stop, no end in sight for these actions, and now we're at the point where a small business has to take on these costs over and over and over again in order to deal with the same problem that could have been addressed maybe the 5th time that this woman smashed a window. Now let's roll into the footage so you can see exactly what we're looking at.
Security cameras show the window smasher in action. There she is, rock in hand, throwing it, picking it up, throwing it again. Finally, it smashes through right into a packed banquet room.
So yeah, as you can see, this woman just rides up specifically with the rock already in hand to the outside of this restaurant. She gets off her little bike and she starts throwing this rock through. Now, I would give her extra time in prison for not being able to smash that window with that rock on the first or second throw, but the thing is, the state of California, they do absolutely nothing in order to address these kinds of consequences. And by the way, if you want to see how it looked on the inside from this happened, we actually have footage of that, and you could see it's a crowded dining room that this giant rock has been thrown into, so somebody easily could have gotten hurt based on these actions.
And watch how the diners react, some running for their very lives.
Our guests thought it was a gunshot.
Now, as you can see, the reason why people were already on the lookout for this was because this woman was incapable of smashing the window on the first try, so they heard the dings and dunks before the rock actually went through, but it's a packed dining area. How long do you think this dining area is going to be packed, knowing that this happens over and over and over again? Obviously, this is going to scare away customers. Obviously, if you're the restaurant owner and this person happened to be in that table right there, and they have glass all over the place, you're going to end up having to compensate this customer for their dining experience, so it comes out to a giant loss for you. And because this happens over and over and over again, and due to the fact that the window is a very specific type of window, those losses are felt repeatedly by the business owner due to the fact that this is going completely unchallenged.
Many of them started running out.
I mean, you don't need this kind of stuff.
No, we don't. I mean, that's the last thing any business owner wants, is to deal with this.
But it's exactly what the Cachanilla Chinese restaurant here in Pomona has been dealing with over and over again.
For 2 weeks, 6 times, we've had 6 broken windows. It happened again and again over, and she still hasn't been caught. We've been contacting the police.
These videos all look the same, huh?
So you have this woman on high-quality surveillance footage. Now, we've seen surveillance footage a million times on this channel. It usually looks quite terrible. She's chucking the rock again and again, and the police have done nothing in order to catch him. This is probably ranked as a low priority, which I can understand due to the crime spike that is happening in and around the Los Angeles area. Not to mention the LAPD just revealed numbers that they've lost actually 10% of their officers, an absolutely disastrous amount, lowest in a generation in Los Angeles. And all these things end up compounding, and the business owner is the one who suffers. And by the way, because it's the state of California, if you were to try to intervene, if you were to try to stop her, if you were to try to make a citizen's arrest, you bet your bottom dollar that Gascon would go after you rather than the criminal.
The woman, ID'd as homeless, always with a rock, always targeting the restaurant, leaving nothing but the smashed windows and lots of damage in her path.
I don't know what to do at this point. So we just keep replacing windows over and over, more target practice for her.
How much does it cost you, these things?
Well, that's the thing. One of the police that came over to look at them and saw that these are antique windows panes. So $350 a piece.
So the windows happen to be antique windows. They happen to be quite expensive. They have to pay to replace them over and over again. And like he said in this, it's happened 6 different times over the course of 2 weeks, and there have been no progress made on this particular issue. And as you can see, with the wider view of this place, they got boarded up windows, they got a bunch of different sections of the windows that are broken, and this is just not what you want to have to deal with if you're trying to operate a small business. And by the way, once this window's already broken, once the glass is already there, the chances of somebody breaking in and burglarizing this place, even though this homeless person does not appear to be interested in doing so, go up exponentially. The business could be harmed in additional ways, and guess what? If you don't fix the broken windows in a timely manner, the magic insurance that I'm told by the left covers absolutely everything won't actually cover this. So the business owner is completely on the hook. A lot of these people invest a huge portion of their income into these type of restaurants, and it could all go south just because the city of Los Angeles, California as a whole, don't want to deal with criminality in a proper way.
In other words, big bucks, now bringing big concern to the businesses here in this area of Holt and Palomar Street, a neighborhood where the homeless wander aimlessly day and night, some setting up encampments on the sidewalk, others even starting fires, threatening the nearby businesses.
So the reason I covered this story, other than the insane hook of this rock thrower repeatedly doing the same crime over and over again and not facing any consequences, is because this is the perfect distillation of the reality of dealing with the homeless in the way that the left wants us to deal with it. They say no law enforcement. They say, oh, give them that God tier right to camp in public, and look at the results. It turns out these people have a lot of mental illnesses. It turns out these people suffer from severe drug addiction. It turns out that these people will target random people, act up at random points in time, and there's no real way to predict it, but if you allow them to amass, the chances of things going wrong grow exponentially. So you have instances where they just set fires randomly. You have instances where they break into other places, break into cars, scare away customers. All of these things compound in order to hollow out this neighborhood, and this guy's trying to hold on. The other business owners are trying to hold on, but the thing is, California has completely turned their back on them. They're targeting the golden goose in order to pay for these people who are destroying the host, and it's just not a good system. It's not a good way to operate. And by the way, look at some of these people. You could tell they got them crazy eyes. I would not go into this area. I don't care how good the Chinese food actually happens to be.
They're trying to turn my business into a tent city. And I'm not just the only one. Our neighboring business owners are saying the same thing.
And now, after what he says has been 2 long weeks of hell, watching window after window being smashed right out, finally his pleas for help, bringing assurances from the mayor and the police.
It's great to finally be heard. So let's hope, things get better.
You holding your breath, though, or?
Let's say cautious optimism.
I like the way that the local news sets this up. They're like, after all these pleas or whatever, he's gotten some assurances from the mayor and from the police that problems will be solved. And then the guy's like, do you actually believe that? And he's like, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic because the local news has covered this over and over and over again. They got the boots on the ground. They've seen these problems emerge and reemerge and not be dealt with. And they know that there's really nothing on the menu in order to address this issue that's actually going to work. Now, I praise Karen Bass for some moves against some homeless encampments, but the thing is, she's still one of these people who won't do what is necessary in order to address this issue. She's still one of those people who's soft on the homeless issue, who thinks that they have these god-tier rights, and ends up trying to placate them, and worse, ends up trying to divert millions of dollars into these housing scams that end up costing way more than any individual apartment should actually cost. I've talked about this. I've referenced this point from Bill Maher, and I totally agree with it. We should go with the Quonset hut model. We should build out these things that we did specifically in California for returning World War II veterans when there was actually a housing shortage, and move these people over there. The problem with the Quonset hut idea is not that it won't work, it's not that it's not adequate, because remember, we did this for the greatest generation, the generation that won World War II. The problem is that these cost about 8 to 18 grand, I forget the exact number, and that's not enough for people connected to the government in Los Angeles, in California, to skim off the top. They also need to knock down their housing regulations. It has been revealed over and over and over again that programs like CEQA and other things that allow people to essentially sue on behalf of NIMBYism are preventing development in a way that needs to be done in Los Angeles in order to boost housing. But more importantly than the fact that these people are homeless and you need to figure out some place to put them, is the actual issues that they're dealing with, addiction and all these other problems, and the fact that they're exacerbated on the street. The fact of the matter is, if you were to straighten out the zoning requirements and you had an actual market-based building program that was going on in California, a lot of these people who are mentally ill would not just rent apartments because they're not in a stable place. The whole point of the Quonset huts is to relocate them and sort them out. But they don't want to do that in California. What they want to do in California is repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again, lead to the same results, and then pretend that they're super virtuous and have Gavin Newsom go off and talk about how California's economy is one of the bigger economies in the world. Isn't that impressive? Don't worry about anything. California is absolutely awesome. But obviously, they're putting strain on their businesses. Obviously, there's a reason why California, for the first time in the history of the Republic, has been a net decrease in population, and that is because problems like this are getting completely exacerbated. They're not improving, and you can lay these problems at the feet of the government for failing to do what is required. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute madness that is California. Till next time.